descendants and owners of the Triforce. Throughout Hyrule's bloody history, this divine, wise, but at the same time greedy family with imperial ambitions has unified and split tribes in their strive for control. But how did Hyrule end up with an absolutist and isolated royal family, and what are their true origins?
After departing back for the heavens, the three golden goddesses left the Triforce under the protection of the remaining goddess Hylia. Under her wise rule, the surface flourished until the invasion of Demon King Demise, which forced her grace to send the Triforce and the remaining humans up to the sky. This while she defeated and sealed the evil king.
Mortally wounded, she gave up her divine form and tasked the magic-wielding Sheikah to watch over the seal until she would be reborn as mortal. The reason for her grace's divine sacrifice and the inception of the royal bloodline has a simple explanation. Though the gods had created the almighty Triforce, they couldn't use it. The death of the goddess was thus a necessity that had to happen and marked with her eventually reborn form as Zelda of Skyloft, the beginning of the Hyrulean dynasty. After a long spiritual journey of discovery and awakening as the descendant of the goddess, she tasked her chosen hero, Link, to bring back the hidden Triforce to the surface and take down the Demon King.
The hero succeeded in his struggle, and with it, the humans set course back to the surface. Not long after, they must have realized that Zelda with the Triforce under her care must be the true reincarnation of Hylia. As a result, the magic-wielding humans renamed themselves Hylians and the surface to Hyrule to honor the reborn goddess. In Skyward Sword's ending, it is further implied that the relationship between Zelda and the Hero of the Skies eventually could have resulted in them having offspring and lay the cornerstone of what would become the Royal Family of Hyrule.
Naturally, as mortal individuals, Zelda and the Hero of the Sky eventually must have passed away and were succeeded by their children. Under these circumstances, it could have been that their children incited battles over the unprotected Triforce, which caused the era of chaos. This tense situation continued and was put to rest when mysterious interlopers, likely Sheikah defectors, claimed the Triforce through the use of dark magic and diffused shadow. Challenged by a common enemy, it is probable that the divided family and their supporters were able to settle their disputes.
As the closest descendants of goddess Hylia, they could have called the gods for the light spirit's intervention to take away the fused shadow and the dark magic the interlopers had mastered. If so, then they were by all records responsible for the first exodus of the Sheikah tribe, when the interlopers were banished to regress in the shadows of the Twilight Realm. In the aftermath of the devastating battle, the descendant of goddess Hylia must have decided to end any further internal conflicts and tasked the ancient sage of light, Rauru, who might have been related to the divine family, to seal and protect the Triforce. Over the next few years, he constructed the imposing Temple of Time based on the magic and technology the interlopers had welded to hide and seal the unprotected relic behind the Door of Time and the Master's Sword.
It was around these times that the Ocarina of Time must have been crafted based on the technology implemented. It is possible that the temple was named after the time shift stones and the location of the former Gate of Time and obviously the first Temple of Time. Hyrule Historia page 77 writes that many years later, the descendants of goddess Hylia established the Kingdom of Hyrule and the royal family. In order to protect the Triforce, Hyrule Castle was built in the center of Hyrule, where the Temple of Time was located. The royal family watched over the Triforce, keeping its existence unknown to others. Hyrule Historia confirms that a new royal crest was adapted and replaced the crest of the goddess. Apart from wings found in the goddess crest, it included the legs of the noble loft wings and the Triforce, which was under the royal family's protection.
Many years passed and the subsequent descendants of the goddess were crowned kings. The members of the royal family continued to be born with special powers, and as a tradition to honor the first in the line, the young princesses of the kings were repeatedly named Zelda. Among the long line of descendants that diverged to the Force era, we know that King Gustav I once ruled the land. Little is known about this monarch, apart from the details shared by himself in the Minish Cap. His ghost told that he was once one of the ancient monarchs of Hyrule who reigned for ages, was known for sharing a close tie and sympathy to the Wind tribe, and sought to maintain the peace in the kingdom long after his death.
The groundwork set by King Gustav would last until dark forces descended upon Hyrule and briefly enshrouded the land in darkness. Luckily, the Minish appeared from the sky with the Light Force and the Picori Blade and handed them over to the hero of men. He lived up to his name and crushed the invaders and sealed them in the bound chest. The royal family kept the existence of the land of the Picori/Minish a secret. Instead, to commemorate the heroic deeds of the hero of men, they instated the annual Picori festival and the sword competition. 100 years after the great victory, the kingdom was ruled by the bloodline descendant of Gustav, King Daltis, and his daughter, Princess Zelda. Daltis, once a respected and skilled swordsman, stood no chance against the evil Minish and victor Vaati when he released the evil that was sealed in the bound chest and turned Princess Zelda into stone.
In the face of this situation, the deceased King Gustav revealed himself as a ghost to aid Link in his quest against the evil Minish and sorcerer. Princess Zelda was brought back to life, and the hero crushed Vaati. Using the mage cap of the Minish Eslo, Princess Zelda brought her kingdom back to normal.
After countless subsequent descendants, Vaati reappeared but was quickly imprisoned within the Force Sword. The royal family and the many incarnations of Princess Zelda closely watched over the seal until Vaati one day broke free, kidnapped the incumbent Princess Zelda, and brought her to his palace. In the end, the hero of the Force Sword sealed Vaati and rescued the princess and the kingdom.
For the remaining part of the Force era, the kingdom experienced an unprecedented line of peace, as king followed kings and the royal bloodline continued to establish its position in Hyrule. Nevertheless, the Force era was not known for Hylian expansionism, but rather a harmony of peace and mutual understanding among the Sheikah, Goron, and later Zora, Gerudo, and Kokiri tribes.
Little is known about this section of history, apart from the fact that the existence of the Triforce remained a well-kept secret of the royal family. It is probable that the weakened Sheikah tribe lost prominence after the events of the Era of Chaos and the Interloper War, but remained loyal caretakers to the young heirs to the Hylian throne.
Surprisingly, based on posts from the official Zelda Twitter site during the marketing campaign for Twilight Princess HD, we note that despite a mutual friendship to the Hylians, the Goron and Zora tribes despise each other. Thus, it is probable that the conflict broke out because of a dispute between these two, which could have been resolved by the then unknown incumbent King of Hyrule.
He must have seen a greater threat in the Gerudo tribe, who suddenly revoked their allegiance to him and his family. The result must have been a split Hyrule and intensification of the conflict, as the Sheikah most likely split again over the issue of independence from the Hylians. A long period passed without any outcomes until the war entered its final and most bloody phase, with two new commanders in charge, a new and younger King of Hyrule against the young but ambitious King of the Gerudo Thieves, Ganondorf. It was during this time that the king's wife gave birth to a daughter, the Princess Zelda of the era of the Hero of Time, also known as Princess of Destiny. Shortly after this incident, the war was finally quelled by the King of Hyrule, and likely his Goron and Zora allies, resulting in the unexplained disappearance of the Sheikah tribe, the unification of the lands under the Kingdom of Hyrule, and finally Ganondorf, the king of the Gerudo Thieves, was forced to swear fealty to the King of Hyrule.
The unified Kingdom of Hyrule implemented an absolutist monarchy with the king and the royal family wielding total power over their subjects and the other tribes within a classic example of European medieval feudalism. On the top of the hierarchy was the royal family, followed by the sages and nobles, then knights and vassals. Under them you have merchants, independent landowners, craftsmen, and at the bottom were the peasants and serfs.
The Gorons, Zoras, and the Great Deku Tree accepted the new order, but not Ganondorf. He had most likely learned of the existence of the Triforce and began in secret to collect the spiritual stones in order to claim the holy relic and exact his vengeance against the royal family. Despite several warnings from his daughter about the Gerudo King's evil intentions, the king ignored the prophecy foretold in the princess's dreams and instead granted the King of Thieves audience at a number of occasions in his royal court.
This misjudgment would turn out to be fatal, as Ganondorf followed the young hero of time out of the castle, and after he collected the 3 spiritual stones, staged a coup d'etat. The king, surrounded and trapped inside Hyrule Castle, was overthrown or even murdered by Ganondorf. Faced by the situation, Impa got the Princess of Hyrule out of the Temple of Time and rode out of the town to safety. However, in the middle of the chaos, the desperate Zelda noticed Link and threw the Ocarina of Time with the Song of Time to him. The Hero of Time pulled the legendary Master's sword, but was sealed within the Chamber of Sages. Taking advantage of this situation, Ganondorf claimed the Triforce of Power, dissolved the monarchy, and instated himself as supreme ruler of the land for 7 long years. The first Kingdom of Hyrule was history.
This concludes the first half of our theory on the Hyrulean royal family. Please like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to Commonwealth Realm and Macintyre for more Zelda theories and Zelda videos. And in terms of part 2, it is up on my channel. Just click the link or the annotation/thumbnail to watch the further fate of the royal family after its first downfall.